In this video, we will be discussing three different goddesses, Aphrodite, Isis, and Inanna, each being from the diverse regions and cultures of Rome, Egypt, and Mesopotamia. While each deity represents similar traits, each of them are portrayed in different ways. With the diversity in the cultures we stated, it is difficult to find similarities in the different depictions of said deities. However, they are respected with the same vitality and given an equal amount of importance in the separate cultures.
To begin, we will discuss the well-known goddess Aphrodite, or Venus, in Roman culture, one of the most prolific goddesses to be represented in art. She is the goddess of love, beauty, sensuality, pleasure, and procreation. She's also associated with a number of personifications of which represented good fortune, harmony, and prosperity. The origins of her cult can be linked back to the Mesopotamian goddess Ishtar, otherwise known as Inanna, as there are some myths similar to each other with differences only being in the characters of the story and some of the smaller differences as well. In art, Aphrodite is usually depicted as nude or partially nude. In some very prominent pieces of art that feature Aphrodite, such as The Birth of Venus by Sandro Botticelli or The Aphrodite of Cnidos by Praxiteles, she's depicted as nude, but she's getting dressed or is about to be covered. However, this is not always the case, as there are some paintings by Botticelli that feature Venus as clothed. The Aphrodite of Cnidos was one of the first, if not the first, life-sized female nude statue. This statue became a crazed sensation throughout the land. It was already daring enough for the statue to be of a nude female form. However, the woman being represented was also a goddess. Because of this scandalous piece of art, many people wanted to see it and became quite the spectacle. In order to allow for a full experience for the traveling viewers, she was given a podium with a surrounding area for the visitors to walk around and view her from every side and angle.
Another ancient deity is Isis, who is the ancient Egyptian goddess of magic, motherhood, nature, and rebirth. She is also known to many as the Queen of Heaven, the Mother of Gods, and the Giver of Life. She was the first daughter of Geb, the god of earth, and Nut, the goddess of sky. However, unlike other goddesses, worship of Isis eventually spread to all parts of Egypt, where both men and women served her. Her importance spread throughout the country, and soon all gods were considered mere aspects of Isis. In art, Isis is depicted as a beautiful woman wearing a long, sheathed dress and the hieroglyph of the throne of Egypt on her head. This symbolizes Osiris' death and her role as the seat of power of the pharaoh. Because of this, she became known as Aset, Aset, or Iset, which are words often associated with the throne. However, in most forms, she is a woman with outstretched wings. The wings protect the deceased and shelter the living. In other instances, she is seen holding a lotus. However, the most famous Isis headdress didn't show itself until she took on the aspects of Hathor. At that time, she started to be shown wearing the cow's horns with the sun disk between them. Although cult practices were never fully understood, it is believed that worship of Isis typically took place within an Izium. It is surprising to know that one of the first temples discovered during the evacuation of Pompeii was actually the temple of Isis.
Inanna, also known as Ishtar, is a Mesopotamian goddess of love, sex, and war. She is the daughter of An and the spouse of Dumuzi, the god of shepherds and pastoral life. Inanna was a demonstration of various important Mesopotamian traits, such as wisdom, attentiveness, righteousness, triumph, strife, respect, awe, the plundering of cities, and much more. These characteristics are compiled into a singular abstract meaning, represented by the Sumerian word for me. These traits, or the me, were drunkenly given to Inanna by Enki during one of their visits. The story says, as Enki begins to sober up, he attempts to take back the me. However, Inanna is already too far at this point and cannot be caught. In the story, Inanna has traveled to and from the underworld, becoming a corpse and alive again in the process. Inanna, being the goddess of war, had a violent aspect to her character. She was known to be clad in terror and roar like a lion. The symbol of a lion was predominantly used for warlike deities, especially Inanna. The lion is known in the Akkadian period as the attribute of a goddess, usually a heavily armed deity, perhaps Inanna in her guise as a warrior goddess. There are very few depictions of Inanna in human form. Most of her representations are done through symbols, such as the symbol of a lion. However, according to Paul Collins from the Institute of Archaeology in London, another symbol expressive of the goddess represented a support for the entrance and door of a reed house, such as those built in southern marshes of Iraq today. The reeds are formed into a loop at the top. A pole is then slipped through to support the roof to the house. The access ends and the reeds are then left to project out the back, creating the streamer. This symbol was found in various pieces of art with cylindrical seals. Examples of this can be found on pieces such as the Work of Vase. The relief on the vase depicts a double shrine of Inanna at Uruk. Cultic beings are found standing atop bowls carrying stacks of vessels. Surrounding them in the relief are the reed symbols of Inanna. Behind that stands a ram and a lioness figure, which would be associated with Inanna. Collins suggests that the lioness and ram may represent two aspects of the goddess, perhaps the male and female principle, signified by the double Inanna symbols at the entrance to the temple.
Through our discussion, one can see that the depiction of goddesses has a strong difference depending on the culture that is choosing to depict her. Some cultures choose to represent her as more of a sexual being, especially Aphrodite, which can be seen through Praxiteles, Aphrodite of Knidos. Other cultures, such as the Egyptian culture, a goddess's portrayal, specifically Isis, can be that of a regal or holy being. This was done through angel-like wings and elaborate headdresses. Finally, the presentation of a goddess can be done through symbolic meaning, such as lions, which is seen specifically in Mesopotamian historical art through the resemblances of Inanna.